Mark Gurman is reporting that iOS 18 could be, quote, the biggest update in the company's history as they ready their release of AI features. Previous reporting has indicated that some of these features could include a revamped Siri powered by Apple's own LLM, as well as AI infusion into the system apps, stuff like messages and music in the iWork suite to try and make them better, as well as advancements to Xcode to make development easier. So you're looking at kind of like those Copilot kind of features to help with code completion, as well as app testing as well by using AI. Apple is also working on making Spotlight better as well, as Siri. The quote here, early designs of the Spotlight overhaul include using LLMs to answer more complex questions and the ability to tap deeper into apps to launch specific functions. The current version of Spotlight is mostly limited to launching apps, making basic web searches, and pulling up information. So I want to get into iOS 18 AI in a bit more detail. But the first thing I wanted to say is Spotlight a better brand than Siri?
I mean, maybe. It depends on how badly we think. Because Siri, so here's the thing. I know that especially all of us think about all the issues with Siri, but wow, more people know Siri.
They know
right?
the name,
Siri,
though, right? And
they
that
know
might
the
be the
name.
reason. Yeah.
And I think the argument there is that I know people are like, oh, but it's negative, it doesn't work. It's like, yeah, I think you can turn that around. I think that the negativity of the Siri brand is kind of overemphasized and overstated in our little community, and that the most important asset is that it's known in a way that Spotlight is not known. Now, I mean, I could make the argument that throwing the Siri name away and having it be all about Spotlight would be better, but I don't know. I feel like, I mean, Spotlight brand could get elevated, but Siri is the brand people know.
So I agree with you, and I'm not really advocating for just thinking about it, because like Zach has said, I don't think anybody knows Spotlight as a name, and that's kind of my point. Like,
yeah.
So the Siri name is well known. People are aware of it. Apple has done a good job of publicizing it. It's been around for an incredibly long time. I think like a decade now, right? It started with like the iPhone 4S or something. But it hasn't got like a super positive association to it. Like people are just kind of aware of it. Like, but I think by and large people are ambivalent to it. Spotlight is also a cool brand name, and it's another thing that Apple has, and like I think it's kind of cool. The reason I bring this up is just because like Apple's the majority of competitors Apple has actually changed their names with their existing thing, right? So like Bing is now just Copilot, which is just I think a great name, for the AI stuff, and Google hilariously introduced the name and then rebranded it, right? So Bard became Gemini. And I just wonder if, like, with a big change like this, is it worth kind of cutting your losses a little bit because you're about to introduce something that, in theory, is so dramatically better than what it replaces that maybe it's best to just cut any negativity away and start over?
I'll just say no. I don't think so. I think you're better off saying it's the all new Siri, and it's so awesome. And we revolutionized voice assistants 10 years ago when we introduced Siri, and now we're revolutionizing it again. And I know everybody else will be like blah blah blah, but it's like, okay, but it's Apple marketing. They say stuff like that, but that's that idea of, well, this is the new Siri and it's awesome. And like, and then so who are your competitors at that point? Gemini, which nobody's heard of. ChatGPT people have heard of. Bard, is gone. Copilot is a good name, but again is kind of a new concept. If Apple is integrating it with their operating systems on their phones, especially like Siri, it's already there. Like the new Siri with AI, Siri AI, you could even call it if you wanted to. But like, I think you keep the name because even if there's some negative connotations with it, and I think there are some, but I don't think they've destroyed the brand or anything. I think it's ready to be revived by new features, and people get what it means, right? Which is an assistant who will help me do things when I talk to it.
I do agree with you, by the way. It was in reading the thing about Spotlight.
Oh, I know.
It was like, oh, they do actually continue to have both of these names.
Yeah, no,
and maybe it doesn't make sense to.
I think my argumentative response, I was really arguing with some of our listeners, I think. So it's the straw man kind of thing. But bear with me here. I think those of us who are so focused on Apple stuff know how bad Siri has been and know how bad it's been for so long. And it's a constant irritation to us. Whereas I think the general public uses it. And if they have a bad result, maybe they stop using it.
Yeah.
But that's about it, right? Like, I don't think that there was that same, like, I hate it so much. Yeah. For years, I've hated Siri. Like, I don't think that is a thing. I think it's, and in marketing, the most important thing is explaining what you are, to be known. It's that lesson that I was taught many years ago by one of my old bosses who was a sales guy, but he was like, the first thing is to be known. You must be known before anybody will consider buying your thing. Well, Siri is known. It's a huge asset. You don't get rid of it just because, it hasn't been so great, because in general, the most important thing is that when you say Siri, people know what that feature is supposed to do. And you say Siri AI and they're like, oh, they made Siri better with AI. Great. And then you're done, right? Like all the nerds will be like, but Siri has been so bad. It's like, it doesn't matter anymore. It's over.
And maybe
right? I
at
think
this point,
that's
the public perception of AI is so much that if you know that Siri was made better with AI, you might be more willing to trust it or give it another go.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's cool. So what do you think about Apple's prospects of AI in iOS 18 and this idea that it is being referred to internally as maybe their biggest update ever?
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's what I love about it. I love that it's Apple's been riding so high for so long. And even in the early days in the early days of the iPhone, they were being pressed by Android, right? Android was pushing a lot of buttons in terms of, but we do this thing. They were intentionally implementing things Apple didn't implement in order to give Android a leg up in certain areas that Apple wouldn't or couldn't implement or just hadn't. Boy, it's been a long time, right? It's been a long time since that was the case. So now Apple is riding high. They make a lot of money. The iPhone's doing great. And, the smartphone velocity has slowed down. And this chatbot AI thing has really, I think, kicked Apple in its complacency. and so I'm excited to see what they do, because it does feel like they are like, oh, crap. Let's get this in more places, and that they made a concerted effort. Now, do I think that will work out? I think the answer is some of it will work great. And it will be things like things we've been saying all along, like, why can't the iPhone do this? And the answer has really been like, Apple has chosen not to do that. And now some of that stuff is going to get eroded. It's going to be like, but Tim Cook says AI. So the people who are against it are now outvoted, and they're going to insert stuff in. And that's why I think Siri will be better, because Siri's been so bad for so long, as we just discussed. I think in part because people involved with Siri are like, no, it's complicated. It's that story about it takes months to update like little decision chains in the Siri thing. And it's like, then Tim Cook says AI, and they're like, all right, I guess we're throwing this away and we're doing something with AI. I assume that will happen. And similarly, other OS features that could be simplified by using AI systems that, again, might have been like, well, deprioritized, or we're waiting for it to be better. And then all of a sudden, Tim Cook says, no, now do this. And they're like, okay, I guess we'll do this now. Do I think some of them are going to ship and we're going to be like, what? This doesn't make any sense? Yes, I do. And that'll be fun to notice when those things happen. But I'm excited by the possibility, because this is one of those areas Apple's been very... If I had to sum it up, I would say Apple has been very conservative with their implementation of machine learning stuff. Yep. They use it, but they're really conservative about it. And I think what we're going to see... this is a little bit like that column I wrote about Apple getting weird. I think Apple has been caught so off guard by the advances in AI that it has been this kick to their complacency, and that they are going to do some stuff that is a little outside their comfort zone with iOS. And I think it's been a long time since Apple has done something outside its comfort zone, because they have felt so comfortable with their position. And they're like, no. And their conservatism about releasing new features tends to override those, like, let's take a chance on this wild idea. Sometimes there are weird ideas, but a lot of it is like really basic because they don't want to go overboard. You see it with their camera stuff, where they're like the Magic Eraser thing that Google does. What bugs me about the Magic Eraser ads for Google is that I've been able to do Magic Eraser on my iPad for ages now using Photomator is what it's called now, right? It's Pixelmator Photo. Now it's just Photomator, where you literally color in the thing you want to remove, and it uses machine learning and it erases the thing and replaces it with something that should fit there. Like I've used that for years now. But Apple has refused to put something like that in Photos. They just won't do it. They just won't do it. And this is the kind of thing where there's a kick of like, no, you need to do this. And I can't wait to see it. Some of it's going to be bad. Some of it's going to be great. That's the thing when you are caught off guard and have to rush to catch up. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a bizarre release potentially. Yes. I'm here for it, right? I'm here for Apple trying all sorts of weird stuff. Especially I'm here for people in different areas within Apple's OS group and apps groups looking at the AI mandate and coming up with they know their software really well and coming up with unexpectedly weird but good things and bad things. Sure, bad things, but like also weird but good things. I think that could be great. And just I like Apple trying weird stuff and being hungry and like because the Vision Pro is super weird, right? And it's got issues, but like there's also stuff in it where you're like, wow, that is really smart. That is really clever. And it's been a little while since I've felt that way about like an iOS feature. It's like, oh, that's good. That's nice. They added this thing that we've been clamoring for 5 years, and they finally added it. But this is going to be, I think, more of an OS release where we look at it and we're like, what? And that's exciting, right? Like, what did they do? It's going to do what now? For me, that's really great. I assume that you feel similarly about it.
Yeah, I have so many questions about it. Like, I just don't. I'm not sure how they're going to do it, right? Like, how much is this stuff going to be on device? How much is going to be in the cloud? Like, what ramifications are there from that? Like, I'm intrigued about these things, but I'm intrigued about exactly what features they're going to have, what they're going to enable. Like, will Siri have a personality now? Like, will it be one person? Like, all of these little things, like, how far are they going to go? Like, what are they willing to do? And then all of the drama that will naturally ensue from it. I'm really intrigued.
Well, we did the draft of the ages, right?
Yeah.
Where I predicted that there'll be a scandal about some terrible thing that one of their AI things does that they have to apologize
Google's
for.
going through it all right now, right? Like, it's going to be really intriguing to see how Apple and its corporate culture battle AI. Like, I'm really intrigued by it.
The on-device, off-device thing I think is really interesting because what I think it means is that they're going to try to do things on device, but they're going to have some things that have to be in the cloud. They're going to make statements about how the cloud stuff is all anonymized and not logged and is personal to you, which I think is good, right? Like that they're going to want to say we're not, it's our model and our data and we're not going to do anything with your queries. I do wonder like how there might be some hybrid models where it's like there's an LLM that runs on the iPhone that then does web queries. It knows to do the queries, but then the queries happen remotely and then information gets filtered back. I don't know. You're right. How do they have to change either their philosophy or how they describe their philosophy in order to use this? And then, what are the pitfalls? Because, again, I think that one of the reasons they've been so conservative with this stuff is that they want a level of control that is not necessarily possible with this stuff right now. And so there are two choices there, which is one, you make something that's actually not as good as the competitors because you've been so conservative with your decision making, or you let it rip and maybe some bad things happen. And how do you label it a beta? Do you have a footnote that says, it's experimental and it might give you bad results? I don't know what those things look. I'm very interested in the Xcode part of it too. Like, how do you train, if you're Apple, what is your code base of Swift and Swift UI especially that you've trained on? Is it just like stuff on GitHub? Is there a lot of basically what I'm thinking is there a lot of Swift code out there that you can train this on if you're not going to train it using Apple's internal code? And a lot of apps that use Swift are not open source and the source isn't available. Like, can they train that to be a good Copilot feature inside Xcode? I don't know. It's an interesting question.